Welcome everyone to Daily Wonders Weekly IG Live. We are inspiring parents one video at a time, right?
Absolutely.
One video at a time. Today's topic is math. And I think that we get a lot of questions about how Daily Wonder brings math to family, to our curriculum so families can teach it. And we wanted to clarify how Daily Wonder brings math and then highlight some of the really fun ways that you can do math daily with your child.
Absolutely.
As you may or may not know, Daily Wonder is Waldorf inspired, and that means that when it's time for a new concept to be brought to your child, we want to immerse them in that subject for 3 to 4 weeks. So that's what we use as a unit. So when it comes to math, there are big important concepts that come up each grade. And so that's what Daily Wonder offers. So if it's grade 2 and it's time to learn place value, you will have a month-long unit that immerses your child in that subject. They get to do hands-on activities, artistic expression, lots of academic work. And once they've gone through that month, then that topic becomes an area to practice over the months and years to come. So that's the same with fractions. Fractions comes in grade 4. We will immerse your child in fractions for 3 different units in the year of grade 4. And then they go off and practice those skills, because that's what math is requires daily practice. So I hope that clears that. So that's where the big concepts come. And so then Daily Wonder says, apart from us bringing these huge math concepts to your child, we want you to purchase a math curriculum book that's, coming from your country or specifically your province or state. And that will ensure that all the important learning outcomes for that grade are covered. And then it's just a matter of going through the book. Now, once your child's in grade 4, 5, 6, 7, there'll be even a bit more guidance, like this month work on geometry, and you'll be looking through your provincial math book to find the pages on geometry. This month you should be working on such and such, because we know what's coming in the units down the road. So we want you to have your child refresh their skills in a particular area. So that's how math is held. Any area, do you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, for some homeschoolers, they're attached to an online school or to a ministry or a state requirement. So parents feel the pressure to make sure that their child is grade level and has covered everything. And other homeschoolers are not attached in any way to any specific curriculum, and they are Daily Wonder members who follow the Daily Wonder curriculum. And so there's a variety of ways to approach the grade level curriculum. If you are feeling that pressure and your child doesn't mind working in the workbook, that's great. And if you're not attached to any ministry of any kind where you have to do something and your child doesn't like those workbooks, then you can do less of that, more games. You just have to kind of find the sweet spot dependent on your context, on your child, and all these other things.
Right. So Daily Wonder, takes the experience that Rebecca and I had in the classroom when we were teaching math. So every day when we taught math, there was always 5 to 10 minutes of mental math, which was either what we would call a number journey, where you're guiding your child through a story where there are number equations that have to be answered in their head. So little squirrel Nutkin was off in the forest and he found 4 nuts by a tree. And when he was walking back to his tree, he dropped 2, and, so on and so forth. So you could add in the different processes that your child's working on. So that's a number journey that's simple for grade 1, and they can get more detailed and challenging as your child gets older. But the other ways to do mental math are with games. And so that's typically a really fun way that you could work with your child at home. Mm-hmm. The Resource Hub, the Daily Wonder Resource Hub, when you're a member, has a lot of links to a lot of math games. So you can kind of choose 1 or 2 each month and then cycle through them. We always say, play that same game, every day for at least a couple of weeks, because that gives your child time to deepen their skills in that area, to get used to the game. They don't need to switch around every day by any means.
No, and some of those games you can bring back year after year, and we've certainly had that experience where one specific game and you just bring it back, and they love it forever.
Yeah. I can always tell, because I still love those games, as an adult, if I'm still happy to play that game or be challenged by it, then great for a kid. There's no reason that they would be bored of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were going to just basically explain, a couple of ideas for each grade, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's do that. And then I don't know if we need to say more about the workbook kind of aspect of it, around how that sort of numeracy practice using the 4 processes and being comfortable with measurement and shapes and those kinds of things are really foundational skills, like reading, right? You have to practice it every day. So if there's a way to input that into every single day, it's really important to do that with a combination of games and written. Okay, we talked about grade 1 playing some card games.
Yeah.
You suggested Go Fish. You suggested Uno, and then I was remembering playing that game where you have 2 people playing, and you each take turns turning over 2 cards, and you add them together or multiply them together, or see if you can divide or subtract.
Yeah,
those are great games, and you can play that with dominoes or dice as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about skip counting in grade 1. So walking, jumping on different, sidewalk chalk number lines, or jumping rope while you skip count, which could look in grade 1 like if you're counting by 2s, you whisper 1, and then you say 2, you whisper 3, you say 4, and so on. And you could do that all the way through to counting by 12s.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of
games.
Lots of walking and counting forwards and backwards. And
yeah. And then grade 2, your favorite.
Yeah, grade 2. This is the highlight of this video. Everyone get excited. Okay. Because Rebecca and I were just saying we were both feeling a bit low energy, and I said, don't worry, because as soon as we bring this, things are going to really get exciting. So grade 2, they're really learning their multiplication tables, which is a lot of rote work. So it's really fun to get a tree ring, to hammer 10 nails into it, like so. There is a video on our hub that shows it again.
Yeah.
So then you would put the nails in there. This is a great activity on its own. And then you would number it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And once you reach 9, this becomes 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and that becomes 20, and so on. So it just goes around and around. Mm-hmm. And then we love to teach the wonder of the times tables because it's so magical. And I always say, like, why did we not learn this as children? It's like the hidden wonder. So I will choose the 4 times tables to illustrate the joy here. So your child would be counting by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
What?
24, what? 28.
Amazing.
32, and so on and so forth. And look what emerges. Hello. Like, please. How is this not, how do we not all know this? Yeah. Every times table. Go and get a tree ring and teach your children grades 2, 3, and 4. It's not, if your child's in grade 5 and they never did this, look how excited I am. Clearly, like, it's appropriate for grade 5 still. If your child hasn't done it, let them figure out what the patterns, the geometric patterns in all of the times tables. So there you beautiful. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they
don't know their times tables, like if they're 8 years old and they don't know their times tables, that's perfectly acceptable, but they can count those nails to skip. You start at 4 and then it's you're counting 4 along the way. So yes. Even somebody who doesn't know their times tables will learn through doing, and those who do know their times tables will be mesmerized by those shapes. And exactly. Then of course we take those shapes and then they get to draw those out into their books. So there's a whole other level of math skills involved in drawing it out as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So exciting.
So exciting. Grade 3.
Yeah.
What else? We have other games I think we suggest.
I just don't want to skip in grade 2. We really emphasize place value. And so in Daily Wonder, we have a whole unit on place value, which it includes a story of the land of Numeria. And there's this tale of the characters going through and counting up logs in this case. And you can make up your own story, or you can use the Daily Wonder story. But the point is to create this world of place value. And then the games that you're playing are with these model materials. that mimic the story. And it's just, it really, because place value is hard to learn and hard to understand. So when there's a story that goes with it, and you know, your children have created pictures in their imagination of these characters and their what's going on in the land of Numeria, they can play it out and it really speaks to them. And so it sort of comes into their intellect over time.
Yes.
So that's how you do place value.
Mm-hmm.
In grade 3.
Yeah, grade 3.
Yeah, we focus on times tables a lot in grade 3 and measurement. Mm-hmm. So what are some game ideas?
Yeah, well, it's just occurring to me now that, you know, grade 3 measurement, like hands-on stuff. So you could take 15 minutes in your math practice time and have them, you know, prepare a recipe, like get the batter ready for something and follow, you know, the milligrams or the milliliters and liters and all that kind of stuff. Like that's great practice.
I remember grade 3, like jump rope and just knowing the times tables and seeing how high you can go. So adding the movement and the rhythm can sometimes help trick you into coming out of your intellect a little bit, which sometimes you forget things when you're thinking about them too much, but add in the rhythm and there you go. And you can do clapping rhythms or stick rhythms with the times tables, beanbag rhythms, and just build it into a rhythm.
And also in our Daily Wonder curriculum, when they're introduced to linear measurement, I believe they have like hands-on activities where they get to make their own ruler.
Yeah, and when we were talking, we were remembering those treasure hunts that include all the measurements and all the other foundational math skills. And so you're picking up all these different skills in one really fun activity where your child's going around and finding something that's 3 centimeters and then something that weighs such and such, and so, you know, different things.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of hands-on fun activities.
Yeah, and can you talk about the grid? Because we start this in grade 3 and we can carry it all the way through to grade 7. So talk about the grid.
Hello, Jennifer here from Daily Wonder, and I wanted to show you a math game that you can play with your child. It is called a numbers grid game, or maybe 1 to 100 numbers grid. So the first step would be to make a board like this. It needs to have 10 rows across and 10 columns running down, and the numbers are from 1 to 100. I have seen websites where you could generate your own quick one. It might be a good activity to have your child measure it out and set up the board first. So that's step 1. And then it is a game that helps your child figure out what number you have picked by using math questions to eliminate possibilities. So first of all, vocabulary like rows are horizontal, columns are vertical is important. And then vocabulary like factors. So you might use that as one of your questions. So let's give an example. So I am going to pick a number in row 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It must be a number, one of these 10 numbers. And now your child would start asking questions that will eliminate. So they can write out these 10 numbers on their own rough piece of paper and start asking questions. So let's say I have picked the number 54. And my child is going to ask me questions like, is it a multiple of 5? Meaning if I count by 5s, will I hit the number? And I would say no. And then they can cross out the number 40, which is a multiple of 5, the number 70, which is a multiple of 5. I might say, is it divisible by 6, or is there a factor of 6 in the number? And yes, it is. There is a factor of 6 because 9 times 6 is 54. So I would say, yes, it does have a factor of 6. So then every number that does not have 6 as a factor can be eliminated. Then you might say, is it a prime number? Which means it only has the factors of 1 in itself. So then we could cross out 11 and 23, and your child can figure out which other ones. And so, you know, you could choose, is this going to be 5 questions in order to get the answer? See if they can do it in 5 questions. If that's easy, try moving it down to, you have 3 questions. So that's one way to do it. When that gets easy, you can say, okay, it is in either column 3 or 4, and then they have to work with 20 numbers as their options. And then possibly for some children, it might be a great challenge to eventually get to use the whole grid. I am thinking, I picked one number out of this whole group. That would be very challenging. Maybe they would need 10 questions to answer that. And then the other variation would be that your child picks the number and you ask the questions, and they have to do the math in their head as well to figure out questions like, is there a factor of 3 in it? Is it a multiple of 10? Is it a prime number? Is it a composite number? These are the questions to ask. So I hope you have fun with this game. Start slowly so that you're only using one row or one column. Give lots of chance for success, and then make it more challenging as needed. Have fun. Bye.
And kids love that game.
They do.
And they also love it when they can pick the number and have to actually, be able to answer the questions that you're asking them to figure it out.
So true.
And that grid that you make, the games just get more complex in grade 4, 5, 6, 7. So you keep it, save it, and we can keep adding to it. And I think it's grade 6 that there are games in the curriculum guided so parents would make that grade and use it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You can start it early.
But if we move on to grade 4, we have fractions coming in grade 4. So maybe you could describe a game, and then the game Salute, which you know better than I do. So if you would describe that game called Salute.
Yeah. So fractions, again, comes in 3 units, and there are a lot of games brought into the curriculum that you can bring to your child. But there's also like simple movement that you could do at the beginning of a lesson. You can ask your child to jump a quarter turn, jump 3 quarters, jump 1.5 turns, that kind of thing. So there's that practice, and walking number lines and being able to count and step at the same time is really challenging, forwards and backwards. So that's brought into the curriculum. And then card games are really great starting in grade 4. There's a game called Salute that we have a video of it.
Hello, this is Jennifer here with my wonderful assistant Oliver, and he was in my class for 4 years, so he played this game called Salute with me, which is a really fun math game for learning your times tables. And Marisha, who's behind camera, is going to be our third because you need 3 people for this game. So what happens is we'll divide the deck into 2 piles, and this is a great game you can rotate around, but we'll start in this way that we call 1, 2, 3, and in a moment Oliver and I are each going to flip up our top cards, place it over our head, and not look at our own card, only look at each other's card. The third person, Marisha, is going to answer the question that she sees, our 2 numbers multiplied together. And based on her answer, I am going to be able to figure out, based on Oliver's card, what mine must be, or Oliver's going to figure out before me what his card must be. So let's do it together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, salute.
15.
Mine must be a 3. It is a 3. Good work. Okay, so you get to keep those cards. Great. All right, let's go again. 1, 2, 3, salute.
12.
6. Yes, so I get to keep it. This game also works really well if you want to practice your addition. So I hope you have lots of fun. Bye.
And there are lots of math games like that on our hub that I would recommend, especially like we're saying, if your child is tired of doing the worksheets, like this is an amazing way to keep up the skills and practice.
Awesome. And grade 5, you would continue with a lot of these games, right? Like you can continue even turning over dominoes and multiplying them together, or you just add whatever your child needs. So they're over multiplying them and dividing them and adding and subtracting. You're working with the grid again, either the written in order or out of order. And then in grade 5, decimals comes in.
Right.
If you have a decimal game you can describe.
Decimals comes in grade 5. It comes in a big unit. So the concept is delivered in this hands-on way, and there are lots of games brought. And then those games could then be, as a parent, you can take those games out and bring them back a month or 2 later and start using them in your practice time. That's really the best way to do it. There's a lot of place value games. You would set up chairs as if they were the columns from the and
Oh,
have
that one. Yeah.
yeah, and draw like a decimal point in the middle and have a bunch of chairs on the right hand side and a bunch of chairs on the left hand side, and then have little square numbers like from 0 to 9, maybe a few of each number, and then you call out a number like 2,347 and 762 thousandths, and they have to like scramble to find all the numbers and place them on the correct chairs for that. So there's so many variations of that, but that's really fun. It's really hands-on and such good learning.
Yeah, such a good one. So then grade 6, we
Grade
play card games and continue with a lot of the games. We're just building up, you know, and in grade 6, economics comes. So business math, working with interest and percent and order of operations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and geometry, more in-depth geometry comes in grade 6. So those units give you ideas and you can bring them back as practice in other units. And also, we love this game, Scratch 20 or Scratch 30, and we have a video of that on our hub as well.
This is a really fun activity for students who are in grade 4, 5, 6, 7. And for our purposes, it's called Scratch 25. You could call it Scratch 10, 20, 30, whatever number you choose. So here's the concept. I'm going to ask Rebecca to choose 4 numbers between 1 and 9. Any 4 numbers between 1 and 9. 6, 2, 8, 3. These are the 4 numbers that she's allowed to use, and with any of the 4 processes, adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, she has to come up with math equations that will allow me to scratch off these numbers. These will be your answers. I'll go first. For example, 6 plus 2 is 8. I can get rid of 8. Your turn.
6 plus 3 is 9.
Correct. As we proceed, you can see at first it's easy to get rid of numbers. At the end, you'll probably end up with 3 or 4 very tricky ones in which your child is going to have to come up with 3-step processes. It might involve adding, multiplying, and dividing, but it gets very exciting and intense towards the end. So let's try 2 more.
6 times 3 is 18.
Correct. And it might look like you could do something like 8 times 3 is 24, take away 2 is 22. And I think you can see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Another game I remember at that grade is a card game called 13s, where you lay out in a kind of in a triangular shape. You start with 1 card face up, and then 2, and then a row of 3 until you get down to a row of 7, and then you can play. And the object of the game is only using 2 cards get to 13. So 2 cards adding together to get 13, and then you can take them out of the pile, and you're trying to get rid of the whole pile of cards.
Right.
That's a really fun.
That's good. And also, as we're talking, I'm remembering last week's topic, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about ways to support, you know, crossing the midline, eye tracking, and like all these things we're saying with working with the grid and card games is strengthening that eye tracking. So
true.
You know, lots of things that you do are working on many things at once.
Grade 7, the big thing is algebra. So it's hard to play games with algebra, but a lot of cool games for that age is the logic games, where they're given a problem of that it's working with, you know, so-and-so has red hair and they're 5 feet tall, and so-and-so has a dog and, you know, a size 8 feet, and you're like all these different funny details that seem unrelated, but then there's solving a common problem using these details. And just work so hard to get it. It's just an amazing thing to bring at that age.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, lots of logic puzzles, and it's very easy to go online and find all kinds of like samples and like worksheets and stuff that way, and you can just bring 1 a day to your child, and they may be working on it for a couple of days. And then there's those logic ones where you get like a set number of toothpicks, and you have to create a certain shape with this many number of toothpicks. So logic for sure. And then using Scratch 30 and the math grid and card games is great, really great.
Any other thoughts on math?
Possibly like what I've said many times, what we've both said many times, and we write it in our curriculum as well. Like math is challenging for many people, and the thing that supports a child to actually get through is to be comfortable being in what's known as a math fog. So, it doesn't, like, when you introduce a new concept to your child, it's okay if they don't get it. It's okay if they're just like literally in a fog for weeks. It can be triggering to a parent, possibly, or a teacher maybe, but we have to just take a deep breath, trust in the bigger process, and your child can then feel okay to be in this fog. Like, I don't actually understand what I'm learning, but I trust that if I just keep at it and I keep showing up every day, something's going to click at some point. And, as the parent, you holding space for that and you trusting that it's going to click at some point gives them a ton of confidence to just relax. And that's probably one of the biggest things to get through a math fog, is to just not throw in the towel, give up, say, I'll never figure it out. And so we just say, really trust and hold space, and feel okay that it doesn't all happen overnight at all. And concepts can come back. They come back over and over again. And that's why the practice is there.
Yeah. And every child is different, and people learn differently. Some children are going to learn most of their math through movement and games and activities. And other children they learn differently, and they're going to learn from doing the worksheets and the speed sheets and things like that. So giving a variety of ways to learn math through something visuals, through something movement oriented, through auditory and oral stories, and mixing it all together, you're going to find the sweet spot for your child.
Exactly.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Nice to see your face, Jen.
Yeah, you too. All right.
All right.
Enjoy your
Until
Bye.
next week. Bye.